how to help a codependent. If you've got somebody in your life that you know is codependent, and you can see the drama, the dysfunction, the difficult dynamics, you can see the person not reacting to that in a healthy way. It may be your adult daughter or son in a difficult marriage, not setting boundaries, not saying no, tolerating things that you know aren't good, maybe being hurt by the situation, having extra struggles, extra pain, extra problems. And when you see this going on, or it could be your best friend or a friend, or it could be somebody you run across in a ministry or at work, when you see somebody stuck in what is codependent, difficult relationship dynamics, and they seem to be stuck, what can you do? Because it isn't enough to tell somebody, oh, just get over it, handle it differently. That's not the right way. That is not empathetic, and it doesn't help. So first of all, you have to understand what I call stuckness. It takes quite a bit for a person in a complicated, difficult, dysfunctional relationship to figure it out. To figure out that they've got to make some changes, that there is some significant thing going on that they can't control, that they need help for, and then it takes a long time to get to that point where you're healthy enough to take care of yourself and speak your truth, and then eventually set some boundaries. Setting boundaries is not going to come first. It's going to come near the end of the process of the person getting healthy. Don't assume ever that you know what you would do if you were in the situation another person is in. First of all, you're not in it. Unless you have been in it, then you can have a lot more empathy, and you're not going to be telling somebody a quick fix. If you haven't been in it, you don't know what you would do. And the dynamics might be different. So I mean, you might be a different personality, a person who is stronger and can handle things. You might have different financial resources. This person may not. You don't know this person's background. You don't know this person's long-term relationship. So you don't know what this person's childhood was like. So you can't ever know what a person should do at that particular moment in that situation to where you can say to them, you should do blank. That is only shaming. It only makes them feel worse. It only makes them feel more inadequate and more isolated and embarrassed with the problems that they're in. Unless you're equipped, you want to be careful about giving specific advice. You want to guide people to resources and help, but not tell a person you should do blank. And that includes kicking out a child, divorcing, separating, unless you're qualified and you really know this person's circumstance and the person asks you and it's appropriate for you to give some specific suggestions but not advice. Be careful. Because you don't want somebody to act on something before they're ready and then feel responsible for what they do, or if it doesn't work out, feel like you wish you hadn't said anything. You want to not give super spiritual pat answers that sometimes we give as Christians. Just keep praying like they're not and haven't. Trust God. Of course they do, but that hasn't fixed anything, because that doesn't make the problem get better. That is what we always do, but along with trusting God, there's got to be footwork and a plan and specific things. And to tell somebody all things work together for good when they're in the midst of this crisis and all this pain just sounds like just like you're patronizing them and just saying, oh, don't worry about it, it's no big deal. You're minimizing what they're going through, just saying, oh, this is going to work out. It's all going to work for good. Talk about discounting pain and not understanding what someone is going through. If you can, and you have any real similar circumstance or a really hard time in your life and it's appropriate, you can allow yourself to be vulnerable with that person so that person won't feel all alone. Specifically, make sure that you do not make it like you've got everything together and everything's wonderful and kind of throw that out at that person. That makes the person only feel more isolated. You want to give practical help by referring the person to classes, support groups, counseling. Some churches have funds that they can use to, for a short time, pay for somebody's counseling. Maybe you have a lay counseling program in your church, if that's appropriate. Whatever it is, if you have access to materials like my website, my books, which are, 10 Life-Saving Principles for Women in Difficult Marriages, or When Love Hurts, 10 Principles to Transform Difficult Relationships, both of those help people in codependent, difficult, dysfunctional relationships and help them to get healthy and to get to a point where they can take care of themselves, speak the truth in love, and set boundaries. Listen empathetically to details about what the person is experiencing. Just listen. They might only need an ear. They might just need to vent. They might need somebody to just validate what is going on and say, wow, that sounds really difficult. That sounds painful. That sounds tough. I can see you're going through a lot. That validation is super important and super helpful. Keep up your own boundaries. You don't want to get so entangled in the person's problems that you feel like you have to be available 24/7, that you are the one that's responsible for fixing, or you're the one that's responsible for, pulling that person along, because that codependent, like I said, understand that stuckness. The person in that difficult relationship has a long process of going through awarenesses and growth and slipping back a little and more awarenesses and more growth and more skill management, more skill attaining, more skills, and so on and so forth. So it's a long road and it takes a while. Be patient. Don't be like one pastor's wife said to a woman in her church a year later, "You mean you're still in the same situation?" Talk about how shaming that is. But with your boundaries that you don't have to be the one that gets frustrated with feeling like you have to push that person along or cast judgment. Just be a support, whether it be referrals or just a listening ear or whatever that might be. So if you've got anybody in your life, child, like I said, one of your children in a bad marriage, one of your children struggling with codependency, maybe in a dating relationship, or you're somebody in your workplace or in your ministry. These are some of the things that you can do to help somebody who's stuck in a codependent relationship. The other thing you can do is to learn the principles, the relationship changing principles, and get healthy yourself. My book, When Love Hurts, 10 Principles to Transform Difficult Relationships, is appropriate for you if you are struggling with trying to get somebody else to change because that person is in a relationship with somebody dysfunctional, somebody addicted, somebody abusive, somebody narcissistic, somebody who's struggling with anger, rage, mental illness, any of those types of things, so on and so forth. If you're trying to get that person to get healthy or do the right thing because they're involved with somebody who has those problems, then you're getting drawn into it and you're struggling with taking on some of the dysfunctional, maladaptive coping mechanisms that people use when they try to force somebody else to change. I hope that makes sense. So, okay. Thank you very much for watching this video on Change My Relationship.